All right, thank you so much for choosing to stay with the morning show on this Think Tank Tuesday. We're about to talk all things business. Small, medium enterprises is what we're talking about. And here in South Africa in particular, they've witnessed a great challenge when it comes to revenue, mostly during the lockdown due to COVID-19. And now a lot of business owners find themselves seeking funding, all in a quest to regain operational stability. And today in studio, we're joined by the Managing Director at Accounting Advisory in Madimetja, Kgobe. And this morning, he's wearing his SME educator or SME council hat. He'll be taking us through the guidelines to accessing funding for SMEs. Kgobe, thank you so much for your time this morning.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me.
I mean, the landscape, SMEs in the country right now. In my opening, I did speak about the fact that a lot of businesses are going through some challenges, partly because of what we all went through globally when it comes to COVID-19. But what is the landscape looking like at the moment?
Yeah. So look, first of all, I want to say congratulations to some people who have started businesses. You know, being a small business owner is one of the most challenging occupations that one can have. So we need to really, really congratulate them for, you know, creating opportunities and that type of stuff. So back to your question, when it comes to small to medium enterprises funding landscape, there was an interesting study done by FinFind, done specifically on funding supply side and funding seekers on the demand side. So with all things in the economy, you have a supply and a demand side. So when you look at the supply side, there's a significant amount of channels that are available for SMEs to access funding. Right. But the biggest issue that we have is on the demand side. So what we call qualified demand participants in the market. So what do I mean by that? You have Sipho, a taxi operator as an example. He has his taxi business, he owns 2 taxis, but Sipho doesn't have a bank account, you know, and COVID-19 strikes, and Sipho has never been within the credit type of environment. Right. And he doesn't have a bank account, he doesn't have bank statements, he doesn't have financial records. And Sipho now wants relief in terms of overdrafts, access to financing during those times. So Sipho doesn't qualify. So it looks like the market is closed to someone like Sipho.
Right.
You know, so what we then talk about the demand side, there's a big issue within the demand side. Almost 40% of all funding applications are declined, whether in government institutions, funny enough, and then also in your traditional institutions. So really, there's an issue that we need to fix in terms of, especially amongst our people.
Right.
You know, getting that bank account open, having that, you know, culture of banking, having that culture of keeping record, having that culture, having a tax number. You know, a lot of people do not have tax numbers, but, you know, they are making money. I mean, a taxi makes 30, 40,000 Rand each taxi per month. But you don't have a bank account. I mean, if you look at, to get an overdraft when you're employed, 12,000 Rand, you can get a proper bank account. But Sipho is not going to be able to get that overdraft.
But what that sounds like, Madimetja, as well, is that there probably isn't access to information. Do small to medium enterprises have access to knowledge and information of the kinds of things that they need to do? Before we get into how do they qualify then? How does the Sipho then qualify? Is that information available?
So look, I mean, obviously, if you look at our literacy rates in South Africa, they are fairly low than more emerging markets type of places. So I would say that I would implore small to medium enterprises to look at Google, try and find out a bit more. But generally, there isn't enough education when it comes to businesses. So, I mean, we need more business courses at a matric level where people understand, you know, what it's all about to be in business and how to become a sort of more professionally run business, because that'll actually open up the market significantly.
Yeah, absolutely. That is so true. To take it back to the basics, the foundation phase of it being right at school. Yeah. So then let's speak and give advice to what do I then need in order for me to be able to access this kind of funding? Where do I go and what do I need to qualify?
First of all, open a bank account. I mean, I cannot stress this enough. So, I mean, you look at it in the market now, you have the fintech space, coming up, where you have people who are willing to fund just based on your based on your bank account. So people can have access to that, but they just need to stop putting money in the matras and actually now start banking the money.
Absolutely.
Once you start banking the money, you create a profile for yourself, right? Then you sort of in the formal type of economy, and you then open, accounts and that type of thing. Now you have a credit score of some sort. Then you register with SARS. Now you have a tax PIN. So then you have a history. Then you start operating, let's say, for 6 months with your bank account that is open. You're filing your tax returns, even if you're not making a profit, but you're filing those zero returns. SARS is aware of you, and then when you get to the bank, you have your bank statements, you have your tax PIN, and you have a credit score.
Trace, basically.
Absolutely,
Right?
absolutely.
And I mean, you're touching on something important, because I was going to ask you another question, Yauri. Do I need to have been in business for a certain period in order for me to qualify? Does the Dabatsari 10 over, do those also come into effect?
Yeah. No, absolutely. So, I mean, it depends, isn't it, with everything?
Right.
One of the key things is that there are so many government channels that are available. Your CFA, CEDA funding, IDC type of funding. But funny enough, they also want history. They want to see bank records. They want to see tax PIN, obviously.
Yeah.
Obviously. They actually also want to see your credit score, how you've been behaving. So I would really, really implore the guys to ensure you start trading sort of legitimately.
Red tape, Madimetja, becomes a big issue for small to medium enterprises. How do we then begin to deal with red tape? And we're seeing more and more online fintech operators coming into the field. What is then their role when it comes to business finance?
Absolutely. So in your traditional banks, they would want audited financial statements. So I mean, you have a CA like me come charging you 20,000-30,000 rand for financial statements. So in the fintech, as I said before, the fintech guys, all they need is your banking history.
All right.
So it becomes a bit easier for you to actually now access that funding.
Okay.
Where your traditional banks, they want audited bank statements. They want so many things, collateral and that type of thing. So in your unsecured space, you are seeing these fintech guys. I mean, Vodacom just launched a product where you can get up to 50 million rand just based on your bank statements.
Right.
So there's a huge opportunity within the fintech space where they're actually closing the gap, where you don't need perhaps maybe more sophisticated financial statements, where you can get away with management reports and bank statements.
Right. And speaking of closing the gap, there seems to be a huge gap when it comes to access to business funding, but for women. And these are people that we know, if we empower women, then we're empowering communities, societies, but it doesn't look like women have got enough access when it comes to business funding. How are we beginning to deal and tackle with this kind of challenge? Because it's happening, I think, globally, and I know in Southern Africa it's a big problem when it comes to access to funding.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's because of our history, right? How traditional marriages are set up. In the past, women couldn't have a bank account without the husband's permission, as it were. Really, but I want to just say this. In my experiences, women are more diligent when it comes to keeping bank accounts. They're more diligent to getting a bookkeeper or an accountant. So I do truly believe the landscape is shifting. Where you see, I mean, as an example, I was dealing with the situation 2 weeks ago, where this lady has done very well. She's opened about 6 nursery schools in Soweto.
Sure.
And I was so impressed where she's always had a bank account. So she has always had a Capitec bank account and banking those fees, for the past 10 years, and she was able to get a home of 2 million rand. So there is a huge opportunity because women are more diligent and they really keep record and more organized. But our male friends like me, you know, there's a lot to be desired.
Right. Madimetja, thank you so much for all of that insight. Really do appreciate it, and we do hope that, you know, our small to medium enterprises have gained a lot of insight from this conversation that we've had. And really coming out of this conversation is that the first step is for you not to be putting your money under a mattress or on a couch, in a couch somewhere, but go and bank that. So start creating a record for yourself in order for you to be able to access the funding that is out there. Madimetja, before I let you go, where do people find you if they want more information and more advice?
Okay, no, 100%. You could find us on Instagram, that's at ACC Advisory, or you can find us on Facebook at ACC Advisory, or LinkedIn at ACC Advisory, or Twitter, ACC Advisory.
All right, perfect. And we'll try and put this up on our social media platforms. We take a short ad break. We come back with more. Stay with us.